Today we are supposed to look at backgrounds. So backgrounds are important when you're designing systems or designing websites or designing content for the web. So I think we had covered this, so we are supposed to start from here. Now we have what we call the background color. So the background color specifies the background color of an element. So with the CSS, a color can be specified with all these methods. So one, you could use the hexadecimal, the hex values, things like hash, FF0000 like that. So like I said, the first two Fs, the first two values are for red, the next ones are for green, and the last two are for blue. So some students, I remember, asked me what's the difference between hexa and RGB. These are the same kinds of things, only that you're using different methods to represent them. So they are all colors, but you're just using different methods to represent them. But these are all the same. So any can work, any of these can work. Whichever you prefer is what you use. Now the good thing with hexa and RGB is that you can create your own colors. It gives you that freedom to use so many colors. But if you use the color names like red, these are few. There are few colors. There are not so many, and you can't remember all these words. But these colors are easy to play around with. Just change from 0 to 5, and you see what it gives you. You add some green and see what it gives. So you keep changing values until you get whichever color you actually want. So me personally, I like the hexa. I've done this for some time, though these also work for people. There are some people who want to use these. But for me, I usually use the hexas. So you could also use words like red, forest green. You've seen all those colors, gold, all those words are there. So if you go online, you can actually get a list of all these color names. Now, the body background, so you can say body background color, and then you say blue. And this will give your body a background of blue. So this background doesn't only work on the body. It can work on a paragraph. It can work on a text box. It can work anywhere. This can work anywhere. But just it just gives it a background color. Now, the other example is the background image. The other property that we can use is the background image. So with this, of course, you need to tell us the selector, which is the body here now. Open curly braces, close here, and then put background image. So this is the property, and this is the value. So the value is a URL, and then you put the link to the file, to the image. So this is a relative link, but you could even use an absolute link. You say HTTP if it's on another server somewhere. You can say HTTP at www.mac.ac.ug. So the slash, then you can say maclogo.jpg, maclogo.png. So you can use all the different types of images here. Okay, so let's try out this. Let's try out some of these things. So I'm going to open my brackets. Hope I've shared the whole screen. If it doesn't show up here, that means I didn't share the full screen. I share the window. Okay, let me share the full screen. Okay, desktop. Okay, so by now you should be seeing this. Okay. This is some work I was doing. Let me just close. I don't want to have so many windows. Okay, so this is group B, right? This is B. So I want to try out the background. So this was the float left that we did. So I can do the background now. So I will share all these files. So I would like to first teach, then after I share all the background, all the things at once. So background color, color like that. HTML. So it's good to save as HTML, but you could have a CSS file, like an external file, like we had talked about the other time. But in these examples, I'll be using the document level. Those that only apply to the document you're in. So I'll do a skeleton. Then I can have my style here, up here in the head. I can do style. Then I can say body. So today I'll do the body, and then I hope you can see. I think these are small. I want students to see whatever I'm typing. So body, I'd say, then I say background. So they bring different things. So I can say background color. Now, when I say background color, I can pick a color. See, these are the different words that you could use. So I usually like the forest green, such a dark color. Then if I run this in the browser, if I open a new window, open a new window that opens this other side. I say localhost. So it's good to have, even if it's HTML and CSS, it's good to have them on the server. So it's good to have these files on the server, and then you can play around with them. So our thing is beast2, and we are in CSS now. So we go to B, and our goal is the background color. So you see my page now has that color. My page has that color. Now you could also decide to put the background image. So let me remove this color and have the background image. So with this, there are so many other things that are there, gradients and the rest, but me, I will use the URL. That's the one I'm interested in. So in this document, I don't know if I have any image, but I think I should be, right? So there's Prado. I wanted to use the one of Makerere. So let me just look for the logo for Makerere. Yeah, since we are Makerere people, we should use our. So we just open a new tab. Go to this, go to my server, var www, go to HTML, look for this 2020. Then look for CSS, look for B. I'll paste it here. So I want to use the Prado, I just want to use this logo. So I go back to my code. Now that the image is there, if I just do this, so I could say Mac. Yeah? So if you put M, they will just give you. So you told me to remind you about how to remove background image, how to remove a background from an image. Okay. Okay, we'll see from this example, but I'll show you. I'll show you. Just now, I'll show you. I'm going to show you so many other things. Now, if I run this here in this browser, you see? Do you see what I have? I have the Makere logo, but it's repeating. Yeah? I'm going to reduce. You see? You see how many logos I have? There are so many. Every time I reduce the page, the logos are so many. So if you say background, if the image is small and the space is big, then they will repeat it so many. Is saying, where are they many? We are going to talk about this. You don't worry. I'm going to explain this very soon. So we are going to look at the background repeat, and we'll talk about why these images are repeated. That. So every time you put an image and you see it repeating, just know it's okay. That's how it's supposed to be. So if an image is small, but if it's big, you'll never see the repeating. But if you want to know whether this is repeating, just press Control minus, so that you reduce the size of the page. So you find those images repeating again. Okay, so is that okay? I think that's fine. Okay, so I'll give you this logo, you can play around with it. This is your logo. Okay, so we've done the image, and now we are going to go to the next thing. Now, there's what they call the background repeat. So this image is repeating because the default is repeat. By default, the background repeat is repeat. So whether you state it or not, the image will be repeated. So the possible values you can have for this property are no repeat, repeat X, and repeat Y. So you can say, I want to repeat an image on the X axis. I want to repeat an image on the Y axis. Okay. Now, if the image is repeated only horizontally, then you say repeat X. And usually the background looks better if you repeat X. Then to repeat an image vertically, you set it to repeat Y. So I'll show you an example with the different images. So let's start with the image of Makerere, the logo of Makerere. So I'll come here and add another property, background. Repeat. So those are the values. There's round, there's space, but the most common ones are no repeat, repeat, repeat X, and repeat Y. So we are going to try out no repeat, for example. Let's start with no repeat. So if I say no repeat, then that means my image will only be one. You see, the other image has gone. So it's only be one. Semakura Ronald, have I answered your question? Semakura is usually active. Semakura, wake up. Some of you read from your bedroom at an angle where you might sleep. Okay. Semakura is still here. So that's how you do that. You remove the repeating. Okay. Now I can come and I say repeat X. So we all know what the X axis is. That is the horizontal axis, right? So I expect my image to be repeated on the X axis. So if I refresh, you will see that the image is being repeated. But if I reduce the size, you see that there will only be one line, and that is the X axis. Can I continue? Guys, these are some of the things you try out in your free time. So here I just show you and then you go and try them out. Okay, so that's the X axis. Now I can also say repeat Y. So repeat Y, we'll repeat them on the Y axis now. So if I refresh here without increasing the size, you see the image will be repeated on. So with this, you can only know this effect if you have a lot of text. If I had so many paragraphs, then that's when I would know that actually this is repeating on the X. But if you have a few things that cover one page, this is 100, your image will be like here, like this. Is that okay? Now let me put some content so that our thing looks better. Let us open a new window, and then I pick some dummy data here. Okay, open. Okay, CSS test. Okay, so I'm just opening some file here with lots of text, and so that I can show you how best to play around with some of these things. So I'm going to have lots of paragraphs in my page so that I show you the effect of some of these things. So I copy some, want to paste things in the body. So many things. So this, you see, these are so many paragraphs. Some of them are repeating, but they're just lots of paragraphs. So our goal is to see the behavior of this. Now let me refresh so that you see what happens. So you see, so if I add text on top of that, Magembe M. Solomon, how about if you want an image to fix that exact size like other images? We'll talk about some of these things. I haven't finished images, we've just started. We haven't talked about attachment, we haven't talked about the positions. So we'll talk about all this, but just in a few. So you see, when I scroll, you see how my image is come, because I've said repeat X. So if you have a big page and the image is small, and then maybe you had said repeat because it's the default, then you would have things like this. You have something like that. You see how the images look? So you have your page, but your image looks like that. So you have things like this. Now, so that's the repeat. I'll finish the repeat. Now I'm going to do the next thing that will give us a better display. So let's look at the attachment. So let's look at the attachment and the position. Now, the background attachment property sets whether a background image is fixed or scrolls with the rest of the page. So the values are scroll, fixed, local, inherit, and initial. Okay. So let's do this. Let's do the background attachment and try out. I'm going to try out two things, three things. Then you try out the rest. So you try out the initial and local. Read about the initial and local. I will do inherit, fixed, and scroll. Okay, so back to our page. So I would say, so instead of this, I can say no repeat. These work well if you say no repeat. So if I said no repeat, meaning I will have one image. You see that? So my image is up now. They have gone, I only have one image. So if I come and said background image, background attachment, I think. Background attachment. So you see there's inherit, fixed, scroll. So I will say fixed. So I want it fixed. You will see this is common with so many websites. So if I do this, if I refresh and I start scrolling, do you see the text moving? So see the text is moving and image stays. So here you fixed it. You're like, even when I'm scrolling, the image should stay in the background. Now, of course, this image is too bright. You can't have this as a background image. So for you to reduce the, to remove that effect, to make it a bit lighter, I will use some other application. I will use fireworks. They call it fireworks. So I'm going to start my virtual machine. I will start my virtual machine. But as it starts, let me say start and then minimize. So as it starts, we can also be looking at what we've been talking about. Yeah, so now if you say the scroll, now the virtual machine is still using some part of the memory. So my account is as if it's freezing. So now I think it's back. Now, so you can have a scroll and then fixed. No, now, like I said, for fixed, the image doesn't move. But for scroll, then it also scrolls with the data. So if I did this, now this is, you guys can't see my cursor that side. I've opened so many things, so the machine is a bit slow now. So, like I was saying, if I said scroll, then the image will be repeated now. So it will not be repeated, but it will stay there. And then I can, when I scroll down, I don't see the image, but I only see the text. Hope this machine is not hanging on me. One is saying my internet is okay. My internet should be okay, really. The internet I'm using is very okay these days. Let me first minimize this windows here. Okay, so as it loads, we can be looking at other things. I know it has already opened, but we can continue with the rest of the things. So we were looking at what? I think I've clicked on this background image. Where's my background image? Where is the background image? I want to see color. We call it background color. Okay. So let me put scroll now. So it's better I first edit this. You guys are still behind. May have reached the browser already. Okay, I think it's there. So you see, when I scroll, now the image stays up. The image stays up and the text down doesn't have any image. So that's if you say scroll. So it scrolls with the what? With the text. If you say fixed, it stays there, then the text can move on top of that image. So now what we do, let me get the same image, this image. So I'm going to take it to my virtual machine in Windows. So I have a folder for my virtual machine called Windows. And I've got a folder called the courses, I think. Then I will paste my image here. That's where I will find it. So I go to Windows now. I go to my Windows, is here. So I can now open my Fireworks. So this is an Adobe Suite application that I usually use. You could change the opacity of an image with any other application, but for me, I use this one here. So feel free to use any other software to reduce the opacity. So many other applications can do the same. It's not a very hard thing. So I will just reduce the opacity so that it's not that clear. Then I will use it in my page as a background. So I will come here, say open. I go back, and I think my image is this one here. So I open it. When you open it, it's like that. Now, some student was asking me about the backgrounds. You see, this image doesn't have a background. It has a transparent what? A background. So that's why when you display it on the page, you find, even if I put a background color, the color will be covering all these parts here where you see these boxes here. So this is a transparent image, and you can do all these with such applications. You can remove the backgrounds using such applications. So I'm going to, my goal here is to reduce the opacity of this image. So I'm going to click here on the actual thing I want to reduce the opacity, then come here. So there's 100 here. So I can reduce this to some number. So every time you reduce, how come I'm not seeing it? So you see the effect? So I've reduced to 20, but I can reduce up to. The challenge is if you over reduce it again, the image might become invisible the other side. So I can change it to 10. Do you see that? Okay. So I'm going to save this image. Come here, save as. Save as, and I say, I could set opacity. Yes, like that. Okay, so that my image is lighter now. Now, if I save this as, I need to save it as a flattened image, flattened PNG. So this is just an application I usually use to edit my images. And then after that, I could go back to my Linux and pick that image. My Linux is here and the image is here. So you see it's a bit light. Then I can take it back to your folder. Which one did I copy? Cancel. I didn't. Okay, I think I needed this one here. Don't replace my image. I still need it. So now I can go and put that image as a background image. So instead of this, if I say mark, they bring this. Now this will look better in the browser. So if I refresh now, do you see that? See, the image is the background, and now you can even read the text on top. So these are some of the things you could do. What else? So we are supposed to also look at the positioning, the background position. So the possible values are top, center, bottom, left, or right. And you can even put two values. You can say right, top, left, bottom, like that. So I will first do center. I want to first do my mine as center. So I would say background position, and then I say center. I will first show center, then I show you what most people do. So instead of having this as scroll, I would have it as fixed. That fix it in the center. So I'm going to refresh now. Do you see that? it's in the middle of the page and it's in the center. So if I scroll, you see it stays there, and the text moves over that image. So the text just flows around the image. So I've done this for some organization. They wanted such a thing. They call it the dental practitioners. Nurse Council. Photo. Hope it's still there. Yeah, it's here. Hope it's still the same site I did. They keep changing their thing, maybe. Nah, they didn't change. But these images are the ones they've just uploaded, so they are ugly. See what I say now, you can't have such an image on your website, really. But when I gave them the website, they kept on changing. So I don't even see the background image now. This is something I did some time back. I don't even remember. But they are still using some of the things. So there was a background image. They no longer have it. But I can show you what I have. I think on the localhost. I think I should be having one. Localhost. Still have my copy. So do you have any folder called backup? Yes. UMDPC. This. Remember the name of the folder. This is the one. So this is the site I had given them, but they keep editing and putting ugly images. But anyway, it's their site, so I don't want to say much. So this is what I had done for them. So if you're keen enough, you see there's a background image in the background. There's some image in the background. So if you scroll, it stays there. So that's their logo. So this is what I had done for them, but they keep changing and but there's some background some image in the background that is fixed, and you can what? You can scroll over it. So this is the site I had done for them some time back. But they keep changing. Now you see what they have. Whoever is managing the site is doing a bad job. So I had put some news now. We have put over which graphs are these now. So they have destroyed the whole site. And put registration things. Still have this. Anyway, the people that are employed here, I don't know. Yeah, this image is bad. They are no longer organizing the site the way it was supposed to be. So, but anyway, I did my job and handed over. So if they misuse the thing, it's their issue, not mine. They employ someone who can't handle, it's not my problem. Okay, so that's the idea. So you can have an image in the background there, and you can always scroll over that image. Okay, so you could also say center, and you say top. Center top. You could say center right. So if I say center right, that means it will be in the middle, but on the right side. You see that? It has moved to the right side. So it's in the center, but on the right. You can say center on the left. But if you just say center, by default, it's supposed to be in the center. You can say center, and then you say bottom, for example. I could say bottom. Let me say bottom. And then if I refresh, is this the bottom? You see, because it's fixed, isn't it? Why it's the bottom? Could be the bottom, but when it's fixed, you can't know. You might not know. So if you say no repeat and you say fixed, you might not know because it's already fixed. But if I say scroll, then you can see some of those effects. So if I said scroll and I said refresh, you see the image has gone. It has gone to the bottom and center. See, now it's at the bottom and in the middle. But fixed doesn't show some of these effects because it stays in the same place. So those things of bottom, it might show the right, the left, but it cannot show bottom and top because it's in the middle. It's fixed. So the text should be scrolling over that image. What else can I talk about this? So the other thing we wanted to talk about was the inherit. So inherit, imagine I came here and I did this. And I said background attachment. And I say fixed. Who remembers this selector here? What's the name of this selector? Let me see people who have been reading CSS. What's the name of this selector? I'll be asking you using a selector this and this. Write CSS that can do this and this and this. Then you'll see trouble. Be like, which selector is that? Did he teach that selector? And those who know will get 100 in the paper. So which selector is that? Akura Muchigeya, you hear Apollo Isingoma, you hear Apollo Harriet. Apollo Harriet. Maybe that is the girlfriend of Apollo. Babidi, Joyce, Baguma Simon, Peter. You've already forgotten this. Bandese Violet, Clarissa Buire, Ernest Abaho, Hamza. Okay, this is not the Hamza of Rema. Jacinta Chaterekira. So it's the universal what? So Jackson, Jean, and Morunji Morris. Actually doing some good reading. So this is the universal. So if I define this, it means all the other tags should have the attachment fixed, isn't it? So if I say inherit, it means inherit this one, isn't it? So my thing will be fixed. See, it's fixed now because it's inheriting from the parent. So you can do all this. If I change it to scroll, then this one also change to scroll. So you can define all these. You see now it's not there and it's up. It should be up. Up, it should be at the bottom because you say the bottom, bottom center. That's why it's here at the bottom. Any other questions? Do you have any questions here? Have I answered the other question for this other student by now? I think I haven't answered Clarissa. Clarissa will, right? How do I remove that background? Okay. So let's say we have our image for this car. I'm going to copy this image and take it to courses here. And I'm sure this image has a background. So I would go to back to this software. So me, I use this software. There are so many other softwares that you could use. Some people even use Photoshop and they remove the background. So me, I'm comfortable with this. I can say open. That is called the TX. Now, so you see this image has a background. Has a background here. So if I want to remove this image background, I click here on the magic wand. It's called the magic wand. You click here. You see how they have selected the background? You press the backspace. I say backspace, you see now I have boxes. You see that? So meaning now my image is transparent. It is transparent. So that's how you do transparent images. Now, but you have to save it as a PNG for that to work. If you save it as a JPEG, it won't work. This background will still be white. The background color will move, but it will stay white. It will stay white. So with this software, you can edit so many things. You can say, I want to remove the tires from the car, and you remove them. So you can delete things, you can add things. So you can say, I want to remove that part. Then you can even delete things. You can say, I want to delete the tires. I can increase the size of my circle, and I start removing things. I first say Control D. See, now I can remove this part. And I will have my car without tires. But you have to be careful when you're editing. Of course, you might delete things that you need. So I can remove all this. See, I'm rubbing off things. I can rub off the tire. But these are all softwares to edit images. Tireless car, isn't it? You can delete things, you can add things, you can have layers. So you can do all these things with some of these softwares. This will be a transparent image of a car without a what? A tire. Clarissa, have I answered your question? So always save them as a PNG. So you come here, you say save as, you choose PNG, not GIF, not JPEG, but PNG. So your image, will not have that background color. Now, again, in your editor, usually softwares will show you these boxes. Every time you see these boxes, just know that it's transparent. It will be a transparent image. Okay, so that's the idea. So with these softwares, you can even zoom in and make this. You can zoom in to the maximum so that you clear some of the errors that are here. You can clean this image and it's clean. But you see, these are pixels, so the more you zoom in, the more they become unclear. So, but learn some of these softwares. Learn some of these softwares. There are tutorials online. You guys have internet. Instead of downloading a movie, go to YouTube, download a tutorial about fireworks. Download a tutorial about Illustrator. Download a tutorial about Photoshop. Learn a few of these things. If you can't install them, you go to the system admins at the college. They will help you install some of these applications. Go to Badilu. Do you know Badilu? Some guy called Badilu. That was my student. He will work on you. So all this is possible. But these are the applications I use to remove, to edit images. I usually edit images before I use them anywhere. Okay. I minimize that. Okay, so we continue. Now there's a shorthand for the background. So if you don't want to say background color, background image, background repeat, background attachment, background position, then you could just use one line background. Then you put the color, then you put the image. You could say no repeat. You could have the attachment. You could say fixed. If you want, then you can put the positions there. You can say top left. Then your image will be in the top left corner. So instead of using background color as one thing, you could just have one thing as background and specify all of them. But me personally, I prefer separating them so that I say background color to state the background, background image I state the image, background repeat I state the repeat, like that. To me, it's easier that way. because you might not know the order. You might forget this order here. Knowing that it's color, image, repeat, attachment, and position. Okay, let's look at links. Now, so the 4 link states that we usually have are the A link, and this defines the style for the normal or unvisited link. Then you can also have A visited. This defines a style for links that the user has already visited. So if someone has visited the link, then you can maybe change the link. You can write CSS to change that. So if someone has ever clicked on that link, then you give it some other color. Then you could have a hover when someone passes a cursor on the link. Then you can also have a active. Defines the style for the link when they are being clicked. So as you click, that's the active. As you're making a click, then they show you some color. Now, there are some rules that you have to follow here. The rules are that a hover must come after a link. So the order should be a link first, then a visited. Then after you can have a hover and a active. If you start with a active and then a hover, then it won't work. So you need to know the order of this. A link, a visited, a hover, a active, then you can have also the focus. And these are all for links. So you've seen this, this is so common. So every time, for example, I try to open my localhost. If I say localhost, you see that we have some things that are blue and some things that are this color. You see that color? So if I've ever clicked on a link, it will be that it will have that color. So these are things I usually go to. IT plus, mate, ref projects, backups. So you see they are different from this, but these I've never, I rarely visit them. So if I click on Kibs, for example, and now I go back, I'll find that Kibs has changed its color from the other blue to something like purple, because I've visited that page. So even browsers, have that CSS defined already. But you can also write CSS to remove some of this. So can active links work without JavaScript? Why would you need JavaScript, Jackson? Because active is when the link is being clicked. I could show you some example anyway. Let me just get an example that I can show you. Let me get a simple example here that we could use to describe some of these. Okay. A simple example to do with the links. So I'll open, let's open something here. So what am I doing? So I'll have a link without anything. I'll go to my brackets. I know you're not seeing anything, but it's coming here. So new, and I save this as links.html. So here is an example. I will see the effects of this. So we have a link, and we are saying a link, and we are saying color should be, which color is this? Which color is that? Let me see people who have been attending class. Which color is that? Jackson Jean, I'm waiting for the color. Which color is that? Red, thank you. Okay, Ronald says it's red. So if you put a cursor, you'll see that it's actually red. Because here this is red, so if it's FF, then that means it's red. If this is FF, that will be green, and this will be blue. If all these are zeros, that is. So which color is this? So we have a visited. So every time a link is visited, it should be this color. So which color is this? We are combining red and blue. Red and blue, you get. Red and blue, you get. Guys, we are combining. This is red, and this is blue. So you get a color that is close to purple, which is magenta, isn't it? We talked about this. It looks like a purple, but it's called magenta. Then we can also have, so you can call it magenta, whatever you want to call it, then it can work. So a hover, so we are saying if you hover, if you pass a cursor on the link, then that link should change to green. So this is green, right? You put a cursor here, you see that is green. And we are saying it should, border bottom should be none. Then we also have active. We are saying if it's active, then you should have a color like this. So this is cyan. When you get green with blue, you get cyan. This is green and this is blue. So if you combine the two colors, that is cyan. Sir, good afternoon. Was I doing intern? Huh? What is this? I don't know what you say, so Lydia Namale says, I was doing intern. I was told that you can use CSS as a file composed of everything, but there I see you're splitting it. So is it wrong to use a full file? No, guys, but this is a document level. You see, we are using a document level where we define it in a style. If you wanted to have an external file, you just have your file as a .css. So here we are writing it in the document level. I think you didn't attend the first classes, maybe. In the first classes, we talked about this. Lydia and Mari, we talked about this. So this is a document level kind of CSS. But you have an external, you can have an external file, just a file with only CSS. We talked about this. We even created one called style. You see where we had the files, we even imported a bootstrap file, a CSS file, and then we're able to use it in the other file. We talked about this. So this is an example of a CSS file. But what I'm using in class is the document level. You can have inline, you can have document, you can have the external. Lydia and Amari, have I answered your question? And I'm sure you didn't attend the first class of CSS. So you get time, I sent the recording on the WhatsApp group. Go through that recording, you will see your answer there. If not, you attended, but maybe your link was bad. So in this case, let me run this in the browser. If I go back here, you see now the links, you see the links that I've clicked on have a different color, but these ones are, now if I want to look for the one I've just put, I refresh, and you see links is blue. It's not purple, it's blue. So if I click on links, that is my link. So you see the link has a color red. That's the color that we had, I think. That's the color that we had. They have red. And then we have text decoration. Now we don't have an underline, but we put a border. You see this border? We say the border bottom is 1 pixel solid. So this line is just a border. That line you see down there, it's the border. So I can also decide to put the top border, I can copy the same thing. Or I can even decide to put borders all over. What happens if I say border without? So you see that I can have my link in a box. You see that? So I can have my link like that. If I say border, see, but I was saying border bottom. So border bottom would only give you that. So to make it look better, I could also have top. I could say top, border top. And then I would have something like that. Have such a link. So now if you see, if I move a cursor, this border bottom will go. So you see, now you see it's changing to green. Isn't this green? This is green. We say don't hover, it will be green. So this is the green. Now let's look at active. Active should be cyan. Now let's look at cyan. Someone was reading it as cayenne. Different people have different ways of reading it. She was telling me that I know you've not heard of this color. I said, really? Maybe the pronunciation is the one that is different, but I know most of the colors. So I'm going to click the link. I'm going to click and hold the link. I'm still holding the link. Do you see that? That's the cyan, isn't it? Now I'm going to release. As I release, you need to be keen enough. So as I release, you see now the color has changed because it has been visited. So I've already visited it. So it's changing to magenta, whatever you want to call it. So even if I refresh, now that I've visited this link, it will be that color. But if I hover, it changes to that. If I click, it changes to that. If I click and hold, but if you click and release, of course, it changes. You understand? But the effect, you see the effect. Someone says, so border color is inherited from text color. Where's the text color? You mean the border? Okay, yeah. So the border should look like the text. If you don't specify the color here, I have not specified the color. So if you don't specify the color, then it will inherit the one for the text. So that's the whole idea. You click, you release. So you will never see the red again until you run this page. So meaning you've already visited the page. Any questions about links? Try them out. See, I do things in class, but you people don't even try them out in your free time. But you want me to take you to the lab? You cannot be doing web systems and technologies too when you don't have Apache installed, you don't have MySQL installed, you don't have PHP installed, and you don't have a server to run some of these things. So you need a server. You cannot run away from web applications, like I said. You can't. You might not use PHP, but you might use any other technology, which you also need the same things. If you're doing Django, you need to run a server. You have to have a server on your machine. Whether you're running Laravel, whether you're running what, you need a server. Node.js, all those things, you need a server on your machine. So there's no way you can run out from servers and the rest. So I don't know whether I answered Lydia normally, but like I said, I'm sure I didn't attend the first class for CSS. There I can bet I can even bet because we talked about this. And I said in class, I'll be using mostly the document level because I don't want to move from one document to another. I want to have all my things in one file. So if I'm testing CSS, I can't have it in the other style sheet. No, I first do it in the document level. If it works in one document, then I can move it to the external so that it applies to all the other documents. But if you want to, you can have them in the external and do the same. So there are 3 levels of style sheets. The inline, where you define CSS in the tag. The document level, where you define it in the style tag. And the external, where you define them in a different file, named as .css. Okay. Lydia, you're not replying me. I don't know that I've answered your question. I want to be sure that I've answered your question. And I want you to be able to go back and look through that lecture. Go through that lecture. You find your answer there. Okay. See, I'm sure you didn't attend because that question really wouldn't come up here. So go through that. You see now, people ask me to share recordings, but people don't get time to go through the recordings. Some of you just keep them on your machine. Then when I say there's an exam, that's when you will start watching. You watch these videos early. Now for students in a group, is it group B and group and evening? Don't come to class before going through those recordings, because you'll ask me so many questions. Because I didn't teach evening, I didn't teach the other group. I only taught this group B. Why? Because you guys were lucky there was power. Me, the only thing I worked on is the internet. The power is still a big issue. Maybe if I buy a generator, which is expensive also. So if I don't teach some group, I will share the recordings so that you're able to go through the recordings. But please get time and go through the recordings. I know the recordings are big, they're around 200 and something MBs. But you can take a bundle of like 500, you download 2 and watch them. Okay. So span is so common. We use a lot of this in our code. So one problem with the font property is that they apply to the whole element, which are often too large. So you may say, when you define a style, for example, in a paragraph, that means the whole paragraph will have the same style. But sometimes you want to color just one piece of some piece of the paragraph, not all the paragraph. Or you want to define a style for some part of the paragraph. So the span is the solution here. The tag called span, and it means leave the content as it is. So if you want to do that, to style a specific part of the paragraph, a specific part of the page, then you could use the span. Now, here is an example. So in this example, we are defining a class, big grade. Our class is called big grade. And the font size, we are saying 24 pixels. The font family is Arial, and the color is red. So this thing should be with a big font size and should be in red. So now we have a paragraph here that starts from here and ends here. Then in between, inside the paragraph here, we want to color this word best time. Ever. So the best time alone, on the best time. So we want to give it this class. We are saying span, and you say class equal to big red. So this part is big and is in red, and then the rest can can be the same color. So ever would be the same color as now is there. So if you have students who are actually enjoying the class, do you have students who are enjoying this class by the way? If we have some students who are enjoying the class, then they will be saying, this is the best time ever. So I'll remove these styles since it's already in a style. I want to add it here. I'll add it here as a paragraph. So if I go to my LaTeX, and I pick that, so meaning this word here, best time, would be in the color red. So you'd have something like that. So the span, we usually use it to style a specific part of an element, like a paragraph. So do I have students who are enjoying this class by the way? Can I see yes in the chat? Can I see a no if you're not enjoying? Some people are not enjoying. Some people are here and they're like, when is he finishing? When is he finishing? But there's good money here. Just know in programming, there's good. I've made a lot of money. I can't lie to you. I've made a lot of money from programming, so me. And me, the way I do my things is that I can even do for you work. I do work as long as you're going to pay me. So most of the times I first do. When you're happy, then you pay me my good money. But we first agree on the money, then I start working. Money is not a problem. First work, and then if you're happy, give me the money. So please love the class. Let's enjoy this class. Otherwise, it will be hard for us to perform well. Someone has said, so you can even do classwork. Jacinta, you're funny. Not classwork. I can't do projects for students. You don't have money. That's the truth. You don't. How much money are you going to give me? My projects I start from 5 million. Do you have that money? 5, I do 10, I do 18, I do 20. There's one I'm working on that is even in dollars. I don't know. But right now I'm not taking up any work anyway. So even if you had a project with your money, I won't take it. Still have some other works to do, so I can't lie to you. I've turned down so many guys. I tell you I'm busy. So. But classwork, no. I'm a lecturer. As long as I get to know that it's student work, just know. I stop there. I might even not give you the code. So that I can't do. Student work, no. I'm beyond that level now. Beyond that level. If you're good, if you catch some, you're good. You come to me and I start connecting you. Me, I'm okay. As long as you're good. You see, some of you want me to give. Some people want to work when they can't even do anything. You come, show me what you've done, tell me what you can do. I'm here. Me, I can give. I've given students work to do before, but you have to be good. If I tell you write code to do this and this and this, you should be able to do it in a. Like yesterday, I was hustling with some system I'm working on. If I had help, I would enjoy. The system I'm working on that was giving me headache. I was doing some graphs that are not coming out well because I wanted it to be a bit active. This mate thing was killing my vibe yesterday. So I had some more graphs that were misbehaving. If you think you can do graphs, you come and start making money. So someone wanted something that so this person has data and they wanted graphs. Though they haven't finished entering that, that's why there are lots of zeros. They have only entered like for this month. So this is a system for surveyors. But you see this page, so I'm using Ajax to load the data from the database. So you think you can do things, you come, we do the graphs. So they change even when the page doesn't load. This is some business for someone here. Yesterday I was here hustling with this graph. I wanted to make this responsive so that you can check. So his dashboard has different graphs, but because there's no data, so they still show zeros, but they work. As long as he puts data, these graphs will show. So he still hasn't entered data, lots of data. So you can program, work is there. But like I've said, now I'm not taking any work. I have one that is taking lots of my time. So let's talk about divs. Divs are also so common. Another common, so Lydia normally says which server do you use? You see, you've not attended the class. You didn't attend all the first classes. Normally. Normally, you need to attend the class. Otherwise, you're in trouble. I use Apache. I said me, I use LAMP, and I have Apache. So just a minute, someone is crying. Let me see what's happening here. Okay, so I'm back. Normally, with your questions, hope you won't disturb me after the exam. There are some students who come like now, like normally will come and be like, sir, I think I should have passed that paper. It was easy. How come I failed? Because if you don't attend the class, you will fail. So normally, you should wake up when it's still early. Wake up when it's still early, otherwise you're in trouble. The way things are going, you'll be in trouble. So another tag, like I was saying, is the div, and usually use this to create divisions. And you can define style for such divisions. So you could say a section of 5 paragraphs. So you have one section called a div, and then you put 5 paragraphs. Then you can give them a style. And you also define another div for some other paragraphs. You also give them a different style. So you can create divisions with this. So this div is so common for those of you who have seen a Bootstrap, who have an idea about Bootstrap. This we use like daily, because for you to create rows, for you to create columns in a page, you use the divs. So I'll show you an example where I've used divs. So the same system I was showing you, I've used divs, so I can show you that. So this is, so I'm going to show you the dashboard and how it looks like. So these are sessions, and some of these things we'll learn in a class. So this is some code I was doing. I was picking the date today, not the date today, the date, but you see I have a month -1. So I want to pick the month for, I want to pick the previous month. I want to pick the previous month. So I have date and then the full month. So you can use all these things in PHP. You can change a string time to date. Now, then these are arrays and blah, blah. So these are includes. I usually break my files into different sections. So you see, this is the header. So I have a section for the header where I have CSS, links to CSS, and the rest, and the metadata and the rest. Now you see, I have div. You see, the div is here. I've said class, a content wrapper. Then I say div class content header, div class container fluid, div class row. You see, I have divs, and I'm saying margin bottom is -2. So leave a margin of 2 at the bottom. Then I can say div class column -sm 6. So if it's on a small device, small media, you use the size of 6. So a page has, every screen has 12 columns. So you can split them into any. So you can say 2, you can say 1. So if you say 1, you need 6. So you need 12. If you say 2, you need 6. If you say 6, you need 2. So like that. So this meaning this will be on one side, and this will also be on the other side. So this is the breadcrumb, and then this one also. So then you see, they are all divs. We have other things like section. We have things like div, container. You see, info box. So you see, these are all divs. So you see, span is coming in here. Span is also a common thing. Then I use divs. So you see, divs are so many, and some span. So if I want to have this with its own style, I would say span that. Then if I have another thing I want to give its own style, I would say span that. So this is info box number, and this is info box info box. So this is the word land and buildings, and then this is the number. So you do see that they actually have different styles. You set this to 100 and go to the dashboard. You see, so these are the values. So this is the land that we had. You see, it's in its own span. It has its own color, and this also has its own color. This one is bold. So you can have such things. So motor vehicle. See, these are all in a span, but they have different colors. So you see, I was creating this. So these I would say 4, because this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So this I would say column 3, because these are 4. So this should be 3. So 3 times 4 is 12. So that would make my 12. So if you're keen enough, you'd see that I have call medium device, and I have. So you can have all that. So 3. So if I reduce the size on a small device, there will be 6. So there will be 2, 2. So if I come here and I zoom in, so as I keep zooming, they change. You see now, there are 2 values. So there's one land this side, motor this side. So they are no longer 4 on a line, but they are 2, 2. Now, if I reduce more, if I increase more, then there will be 1, 1. See? So it will be 1, 1. So all this is done. So div is a very, very important thing these days. The div and the span are used a lot. So you're not seeing any other thing, but just divs and classes and span, div, span, div, span, div, span. The whole page is full of span and divs. See section. So these days we have sections. So you get sections, and each section can be different. So yeah, these are links to JavaScript that we're going to cover very soon. And this is code to generate the graphs. This is JavaScript for the graphs. So this is some PHP. This is a query. You know SQL queries, right? Yeah. So these are queries, and this is the other graph. But it's all about divs and so divs are important. They are very, very key. But they are used to create sections or divisions in a page, and then you can easily apply CSS onto those divs. Okay. More CSS page layouts. Now, each element in a document is considered to be a rectangular box consisting of content area, padding, a border, and a margin. So whichever thing you create, whether let it be a paragraph, let it be a text field, they all have these. They will have the content, they will have the inner edges, they will have padding. Padding is the space between the content and the border, isn't it? Padding is space between content and the border. You remember padding, cell padding. The inner walls of the cell and the content. That's what we call padding. So you see, you have everything has padding, and every field that you see has a border. And then has a margin. So a margin is in between the border of that field and other elements outside. So those are the margins. So every time you see margin, just know it's a space between that rectangular box, that content area, with the other content areas also. So if you have a paragraph, if I say margin, the margin is the space between that paragraph and the other paragraphs. So each field you see has a content, has the inner edge, has the padding, has the border, has the margin. So you need to know all this. If you know all this, then you can know how much space something is going to cover. Because the bigger the margins, the bigger the space a field covers. So can we start from here next time? I don't want to teach so many things today. So let's start from here next time. We'll talk about the borders. Talk about the borders, try different borders, do some calculations, because here I usually do calculations here, some mathematics, and I would want you guys to be fresh. And then we finish CSS. Now, when we finish CSS, we can also start on JavaScript. So I will also introduce the same class like after this CSS, after us doing these calculations here, I'll have an introduction to JavaScript. So after JavaScript, we'll look at MySQL, and then after we'll look at PHP. So very soon I'm going to be sharing, I've seen the groups, I'll be sharing your courseworks. So hope all the class reps have shared the group names. So I will assign you a value, I will assign you a number, and that's the number you will do for your coursework. Okay. So have a nice day. If you have any questions, please, you can ask. Otherwise, I'm going to stop sharing now. Any questions? You can raise your hand so that I know you're asking a question. Otherwise, I might think you're not asking any questions. If you have any questions, you raise your hand. Please feel free to ask a question. Hope I'm not rude in a way. You may find I'm rude and some of you fear to ask questions. But I think telling you that you go through the recordings is not rude, right? I don't think that would be rude. So if I've been rude to Lydia Namari, I apologize, isn't it? So by the end of the day, before the end of the day, I'll have shared the recordings. Please go through the recordings. You know, the good thing the videos are clear. Because I've seen them, they are clear because the good thing the internet is now fast and things are all matching well. So please go through the videos and try whatever I've covered. Okay. Have a nice day.